This is AGNR 131 Lab Exercise 4, Part 2, Effects of Soil Salinity on Plant Growth. And we are at the end of week 1 on this. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you what's gone on so far after a week of these plants, 5 different plants, sitting in the varying levels of soil salinity, or not soil salinity, but solutions with different levels of salinity, low, medium, and high. So let's come over here and we'll look at our controls first of all, and we'll have a look and see how they look. So you can see we've got they're pretty well organized. Remember, just to remind you, everything's in a Hoagland solution, which is a total nutrient solution for the plant. So they're lacking for nothing. The only thing that we've tried to make sure is that the water level, the solution level, doesn't go too low, and that the roots are not going to be out of the water. So everybody so far is very happy with the fact that they've got all the roots in the solution. Let's see if they're happy with what the solution's got in it other than the Hoaglands. So remember that the salinity is the only thing that we've changed. So in the control, we have a beautiful, nice Hoagland solution, no salinity at all other than what would be normal in that solution. And you can see we've got the radishes here, the beets in the middle. I'm going from right to left, radishes, beets. We've got some kale over here. I'll move it so we can see it a little bit better. And then the summer squash. Here's the summer squash. I'll kind of put my hands behind it so you can kind of see that. And maybe I can even tilt this just a little bit so you kind of see. Looks pretty good, right? I mean, it looks fairly healthy there. And then finally, we've got our garden beans over here. And then there's what they look like. And if you kind of look through there, we put that cardboard to try to make sure that you could see there was no issue. So there's a little bit. Here's an old leaf down here. Got a little bit of that on it. There's a leaf down there at the bottom that's dried up on that. But generally, as I look on these things, and if maybe we zoom in just a little bit or come down from the top just a little bit, you can see that I personally don't see any issues in that. They seem to be pretty happy growing in this Hoagland solution. So we'll put a quick pause and rearrange it so you can see what the low salinity looks like, and from there. Okay, so here we're looking at our low salinity bunch, and from the left over here, we have radishes, and I see a couple of this. The older leaves look like they're dead. I see a little bit of perhaps something up there. Maybe on that leaf is maybe something going on. In the back we have our summer squash. There's the leaves on that. Looks okay. And here this one here is our kale. Doesn't seem to have really too many issues. Our beets over here, pretty small still, but that's just the way they're growing. But you can see there's some of the lower leaves here. Perhaps they've died off. Maybe it's their time. And then finally over here to the right, we have our garden beans. And I'm going to say that there's a little bit of regular death down there. We've got that leaf looks like that. I don't think there's any pests in here necessarily. That one looks like that. This is an old leaf. You can still see the bean seed down there coming up through there. So not horrible. So that's the low salinity. Compare that with the control. Little different. I would say that there's definitely a difference in the robusticity. I don't think that's a word, but between the summer squash and the garden beans, you can really see that that these are a lot different. These garden beans here are not nearly the same height as the garden beans on the other side, nor is the summer squash as robust as it was over there. So let's go to the medium salinity next. Okay, so now we're looking at the medium salinity, and then coming from the right here, I've got the radishes. You can see a couple of the newer leaves look like they're suffering a little bit. This doesn't look quite as happy as the other ones. That's the radish, and then over here we have the kale. The kale looks all right. It's a little bit small. The beets back here in the middle, not real big. Now we get to the summer squash and the garden beans. You can see there's definitely on the summer squash here. There's definitely some issues. Doesn't look as happy. The plant is much smaller. You can see those leaves on the outside there. They're definitely having some struggles with the salinity, it looks like, or with something. And then up here on our garden beans, these leaves are all curling. They're quite dry and papery. The leaves up here are also beginning to curl. You can kind of see that. Yes, there's new growth in all of these, but really doesn't look nearly as good as the other ones. So that's the medium salinity. Let's go ahead and take one last look at the high salinity and see if we can see a difference there. Okay, so over here now we have the final set. This is a high salinity, and you can see coming from where my hand is over here. Here we've got, I'm probably in the way. Here we've got the radish, and this is, at this point I would say these leaves are crispy. You're going to see if I do this, you'll see that leaf will just flake. So the radish is not happy. I would say that radish is probably dead. You can see it's quite small. It looks like the kale here, this middle one, the kale has still got some life in it. These are dry. A lot of those are quite dry. There's a little bit of life left in that leaf. The beets, here's the beets over here in the middle. They're all still alive. They don't look like they're growing well. They look like they're stunted. In the back here we have the garden beans. These are dead. These don't look too bad. I mean, these leaves look okay, but you do notice that there's a color issue on them. They look like they're starting to get some little yellow in it. These up here, those leaves have actually dried around the margins. And then finally over here on the summer squash in the middle, I don't really even need to say anything. This doesn't look happy. And if you remember the control versus the low salinity, there was quite a bit of difference there as far as the height and even how vigorous the plant was growing. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and run this for another week, and at the end of that we'll see. We've already seen some results after 1 week. Let's see what happens after running this thing for 2 weeks, and then we'll be done. So, but I think we're already seeing some really interesting results from salinity. We've got all those different species. It's really quite interesting. So let's give it 1 more week. Really make sure that we give these plants a chance to either live or die, and then we'll have a much better picture of what to expect with these different plants when they're actually growing in the ground at different salinity levels. So far, so good. See you next time.